Welcome to the LiveCast Conversations with. On this show, my guests and I explore the bumps and triumphs of their journey to extract the gems from their experiences, because success leaves clues, and today we turn those clues into billboards for you. I'm your host, Gene Bernier, founder of Peeled Back, speaker and coactive coach, guiding leaders to ruthlessly pursue a life worth living. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 101 of the LiveCast Conversations with. Today, we are back from a bit of a hiatus with my good friend Rawle James. Today, we're going to talk about avoidance, what it is, why it shows up for us, how it impacts us, and at what point can we start to make friends and find out what's the real message behind avoidance. And as I said in the write-up, this is something I want to avoid. This is because of my own accountability. Rawle is my own personal leadership coach, and he challenged me to reach out to 20 people that would fit in my niche market for coaching. And I made all the excuses not to do it. I avoided it like the plague, and because of it, I chose if I did that action, we were going to come on here today. I was going to let Rawle do what Rawle does best and really dive into some conversations around avoidance. As I know it shows up for us all. It doesn't matter our role or where we're at in our life. Avoidance is there, always whispering. Rawle, thanks for being back on the show. I think you are one of my most prolific guests that have been on in this 101 episode journey so far.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's always good to be back and to hang out with you like this, and to add the little bit of insight that I may have gathered throughout my life. So, yeah, it's good to be here, and welcome back from your hiatus. So.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, it will definitely be a little bit more regular here, hopefully, in the next little while. Oh, Neil is on and supporting us. We love it. As well, in the comments, you will find a link to connect with Rawle. Rawle is a personal leadership and spiritual coach, poet, and speaker. So if you're interested in any of those things and what you hear today, make sure to check Rawle out. No affiliate links here. This is all directly to Rawle.
All to me, yes.
Oh, and my daughter Presley is watching as well. Hi, Presley.
Oh, hi, Presley. and hopefully this week we'll talk later. But my website, I'm leaving it up. People put it on the construction. They like to hide. I'm just gonna look behind the curtain, and I'm gonna clean it up and work on it live. So you may go on one day and it looks this way, and the next day it's changed, because I'm actually teaching myself how to learn
to work on
WordPress and do it. So
sounds like something you're stepping into not to avoid, good sir.
Yeah, well, this is a timely conversation today, because for things that I'm not good at, I have no desires to want to learn and do. Now, having said that, I've always desired to have a good website, and I've been very fortunate over the years to have people that have always donated their time to help with my websites and stuff. Trade-offs, because I do the same thing with their things. But the last person I had doing it is obviously busy with life, and I just thought, is it the fact that I don't want to do it, or is it something that I'm afraid of in doing? In mastering? Is that a skill that I really don't believe there's a skill that if there's something I really want to do, there's no skill that I can't take on.
Right.
So I started to look at myself and go, is there a fear with regards to stepping into WordPress? I come from the technology field. I'm not a technologist. I was never a guy that coded. I was always on the peripherals. I started as an IT recruiter and managed consultants and all these things. Business analysts. So I'm not a technologist in that sense. So, coming from the IT field, I was like, why can't you do this? So, I had to get real with myself, and I go, okay, I'm going to walk through that fear of somehow I can't understand WordPress, especially when it says no coding necessary. So, okay, I'm going to look at that face on and go, I'm going to walk through you, and I am going to teach myself WordPress, and not just by myself. I mean, there's great tutorials on YouTube. And we live in an age now where, man, you can post so many things up and teach yourself. And it's not that I don't value webmasters, but I want to do this myself. So yeah, that's why I think this is a fitting.
Well, there sounds like you're stepping into that wonderful world of avoidance and that fear. I think you mentioned fear avoidance, as well as part of that.
Avoidance, apprehension, whatever word you want, whatever you want to, for me, it's just another opportunity. First of all, I don't beat myself up for recognizing that I have these things. I mean, to sit there, any coach that says they don't have fears or they come across like they're mastered everything is really doing themselves and their clients a disservice.
Yeah,
I use my real life as an experience, because the things that I'm going through, you're probably going through as well.
Yeah,
maybe in different degrees, maybe not at the same time, but it's not foreign. So,
well, and I think as well, I've heard this saying a number of times. The latest person I heard it from, I think, was Trevor Turnbull, where your story could be somebody else's survival guide, right? And being able to stand into that and going, oh, like, maybe this isn't just for me, but I need to take this step, so that maybe there's somebody else that can be brave enough to go, oh, it's just bravery that we need. I can take a step.
Tell Trevor I like that quote. That's really good, because it's true. The stuff that you have to face and overcome can be someone else's survival code book, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And this is why I think, as a poet, I love stories, and I love, using poetry to tell stories. The more we hear of our stories, the more we hear of ourselves in other people's stories, and vice versa. So
100% agree to that.
Mm-hmm.
It's important to share it and to be open with it too, right? Like, because sometimes that can feel very avoidant as well. Be like, I don't want to be too transparent. And I don't think it's about being transparent, because then nobody can see that. But I think it's about, are you willing to kind of like remove the kimono and be like, open kimono, you can see all the battle wounds and everything that I'm trying to hide.
Well, it's in a poem I'm working on right now. I talk about respect and respect and resiliency. These are not just words on paper; they're active words. And resiliency comes from the harsh, bad, ugly experiences of life.
Mm-hmm.
We tend to learn the best from the bad and ugly experiences of our existence. Not that we don't learn from good and beautiful, but we tend to, those messages, those lessons are more cemented through those harshness. And this is where resiliency comes from. It's a living, breathing thing in you. That's why I always say, are you ready? When I work with my clients, I've said it to you many times, are you ready to unlock your vault of wisdom? Because your wisdom lies in the experiences that you've had.
Right.
The question is, are you ready to let go of the suffering, to keep the experience and let go of the perceived harshness and suffering that happened when the experience happened, and it happened for a period of time afterwards. And then it just becomes a mental beatdown, just like procrastination. If you believe all things happen in its right time, then procrastination is just a mental beatdown.
Interesting.
So for me...
Well, it's interesting as well to think that procrastination and avoidance and all those things all live together. They're in the same neighborhood. They all like hang out and have block parties together. And sometimes that block party is up here very loud. Like, turn it down. It's 11 o'clock. Go to bed.
Party. And all occupants live in here. I always, I kind of point to use the human body as a map to the universe. Well, this is the heart center, not just the physical heart, but this is the universe. This is where the conductor lives.
Yeah.
Right. This is also the universe, but this is where the orchestra lives. The conductor conducts the orchestra. But the orchestra is where ego lives, and where ultra ego lives, and where the inner child lives, and all these other things. And the conductor is the one ultimately in charge. Yeah. But that doesn't happen overnight. That's a journey. That's a process of learning how to, when people talk about living a heart-centered life, what does that really mean? Because all things in balance. Because ego gets a bad rap. You need ego. Ego is like that engine in your car that gets you out of bed every morning. When you look at star athletes or people that are high achievers, they have to have a very healthy ego to do those things. So when people tell you to get rid of your ego, Good luck with that.
It's tied to us. It's like our
It's tied
shadow.
to
It
same thing with avoidance or apprehension. Good luck with that. Now,
yeah.
you can learn to walk through it and walk with it, but I don't believe you'll ever get rid of
And I agree with that 100%. Like having experienced a lot of those things
it. Mhm.
myself is like they always are there. They're always going to whisper.
Yes.
And it comes down to, for me personally, especially in my practice, is like building up other voices. Like when we talk about that orchestra, I love that idea. It's like, well, you have to have all kinds of instruments in that orchestra. So why don't we start giving some life to the good voices,
Yes.
for myself, the comedian or the rogue, or even the young child that wants just to play a little bit. There's also the badass, like, captain in charge that's ready to say engage. Like, all these things need to be there on top of all the dark voices.
Yeah.
And I say dark, but I'll pull them back. I still think that they have an important role, and I
I
encourage that they
agree.
get brought to the table
I leave you
100%.
alone long enough, you will do that. Because I was going to say there's no good and bad in the context, but then you did it yourself. So
Look, I can grow, roll.
well, but it's true. You know, I have all kinds of voices in my head. And if you think I'm crazy, I am crazy. And each voice serves a purpose, has a job. And I have, that voice of always, first thing that happens, it's angry, right? I was a very angry man when I was younger. There's a difference between being angry and getting angry. I know how to get angry. There's probably still parts of me that's that angry man, but I think I have a good handle on that man. Just like envy and greed and all these things. And there's that voice of always doubt. As soon as something comes up, oh, I don't know if I can do that. That voice serves a purpose. It reminds me that I don't need to give in to it.
Mm.
Right?
I think
I'm not going to fight it. I can't shut it up. And it's funny how all those voices sound like me.
You
But I
pull it
know
all
that,
back. You're like, oh my
yeah,
god, it's just different versions of me, and that's really what it
peel
is,
it back,
right?
peel it back.
And I think as well, like to add that, when you say that it's just all me, is like when you're starting to work through this idea of like, oh, I just keep putting myself down, or like all I hear is like this little like message of going, who are you to do this, blah blah blah. It's like, what if we start putting a face to that message?
Hmm.
I find like when I personify those things, all of a sudden they're pulled from the shadow, they're pulled out of the fog, and they have to be at the table, be like, all right, you want to be loud, you want to be the loudest one at the table, let's hear you out, and you only get 2 minutes, you get to hold the conch and pass it on to somebody else,
Yeah.
instead of being just this loudspeaker that's going off all the time. Is how do you pull that into that conversation upstairs in the orchestra with the conductor, to be able to have some valuable feedback? Because I think there's a power in, I look at like saboteurs as the trolls in front of the bridge of success. You have to pay the toll to get across. And the troll actually wants you to get across. It's just going, there might be danger here. This might be really hard. And that's sometimes not the message that you hear. You hear, oh, you're not good enough. Who are you to think you could do
Yes,
this? Like
possible.
it's just impossible. The message is, I believe in you,
You
but
said
it's
an
going to be
interesting,
difficult.
you said an interesting word, pulling it out of the shadows. And there's a lot of people out there doing these shadow works, and you can't have a shadow unless there's a light shining on you that casts a shadow. And I always tell people, your shadows aren't showing up to hurt you. I was just this morning talking to another client about anxiety, and I said, replace the word anxiety with crisis. Your anxieties are like a crisis. Every time it shows up, every crisis shows up with deep opportunity. And the question is, can you get out of your own way to see the opportunity?
Yeah.
Right? So if you can look at those things as, they're not good or bad, right or wrong, in the context that we're speaking of, they're showing up to go, there's an opportunity here for you to further develop your growth. Are you open to accepting it?
Yeah.
And this is how I deal with those things, because, depression, anxiety, all those things, they've never left me. I just don't give in to them, number one. Number two, when they do show up, I don't beat myself up because they show up.
Yes.
And I think a lot of times when you talk about why do we have avoidance, apprehension, We beat ourselves up when these things show up, as opposed to going, okay, you're showing up for a reason, and you're not showing up uninvited. If I'm co-creator in all of this, then you're showing up invited.
Hmm.
So why are you showing up? Oh, there's an opportunity here for me to learn and grow. What is it that I need to learn and grow? It's like our thing. When I challenge you to reach out and contact 20 potential clients, or just 20 people, may not turn into clients. Who knows? But what was the apprehension in doing that, right? And that's why I accepted. I reissued the challenge, and I go, I'm going to do it with you as well, because do I have that apprehension? Do I have that, those concerns about reaching out to people? Particularly now that I'm back in Toronto, and although I grew up here, I'm back in it's a new city, because I don't know it like it is now, and I don't have the network that I used to have. And most of the people in my network are, either retired or doing different things. So I figured, okay, I'm going to accept that. And as soon as I said it, I was like looking within myself. Is there any apprehension? And there isn't any, actually. I've actually been embracing this and accepting the challenge. I'm going to work on my website. I'm not one that makes a lot of videos, so I'm starting to make videos and learning iMovie and how to edit and all this stuff. And because I watch my son, the tattoo artist in Kelowna, he's brilliant at making these videos. You're pretty good.
Yeah.
Some of the other guys from Open Forum, Andrew, has been helping me. So I'm like, man, I'm well supported.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's half the battle. When you don't feel you have the support, it's easy to fall down the rabbit hole of avoidance, of apprehension, that sort of thing. And this is why it's important to understand those different voices and understand they're doing their job. But it's like courage. Courage is not a lack of fear. It's walking through those fears. And I really want to learn how to do a good website. And I know that's what's driving, because I really want to. So
it's a way to promote yourself and to get out and step into and test where those fears show up too, right? Like that's what I hear from that is it, regardless of it being a website or whatever it is, or reaching out to 20 people, it's like, are you willing to step into that fear and practice lifting that fear? Because I take everything a lot back to like physical exercise, right? You got to put the reps in. You got to build the muscle up, right? Like, because if you don't exercise for a while, it all kind of fades away. Just like practicing stepping into the fear. Like maybe there's been a time in your life where you've just had this courage and this courageousness, and you've just stepped through everything. You've got a clarity on where you're going to go, your outcomes, goals, whatever the word means to you, your vision. You've just step, and then you're taking a step back going, how do I do that again? How did I do that? Why does it feel so hard? I remember it not being that hard. Mm-hmm. It's because you stopped putting the reps in.
Yeah, and action. You got to take action. Everything. I believe everything is created. Twice. It's both in the spiritual realm. You think it, imagination, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
You create it. You see the possibility.
Yeah.
But then you have to come here and do it. And when you physically have to do it, it may not come out the way you've imagined it. But you also have to trust the process. And part of the process is showing up, getting out of bed, and taking action.
Yeah.
Right. My sister has been concerned about my health, with my heart and all this stuff. And since I've been here, I haven't really been doing much. And I go, okay, I'm going to take action. I'm going to get up. I told her every morning, because she's got 4 kids and, they walk to go, I'll take over walking the dog in the morning. And then I started doing that. And then I said, okay, I'll take over walking the dog midday or in the afternoon. So when they come home, they have to do it. And then at nighttime, they have to do it. And because of that, it's getting me out walking. I'm even, it's not like I'm doing anything vigorous, but just the little that I'm doing.
Yeah. Well,
I feel better.
I think there's the acceptance of the start.
Yes.
Right? It has to start with one. And every single day, you got to pay the toll of the success, and you got to start with one, whatever that start is. It's just like, it can be a little, and it can be a whole bunch of little things. And I'll share something, like, for whatever reason, I can't tell you why, because I don't truly understand it, but for, like, years, I've wanted to have, like, basically a chore chart saying, hey, here's the expectations of, like, daily, weekly, monthly. I got up yesterday, worked out, And I was just like, you know what? I'm done with this weight on my head. Raul, it took me 30 minutes to do. Less than probably 30 minutes to do. I put it off for maybe 4 or 5 years, going,
Right.
I'll get to it tomorrow. I'll get to it tomorrow. And I'm just like, oh, I feel great. I've shared this. This is a place to work from. At least I've put it out there now. And I just did something that, for whatever reason, I was avoiding. And it's why I bring that up is like, it goes back to like the littlest things that we can avoid, and just bringing the awareness to it without beating ourselves up, going, that's interesting, why would I be avoiding that? Be like, why am I avoiding like taking a blanket up the stairs? Be like,
Yeah. Because
I
once
don't
you
know.
do it, you realize how easy it is. But what's difficult is the mental beatdown. This is why I use the word, I compare things to procrastination,
Yeah.
right? The longer you put it off, the harder it seems. And, oh, well, so much time has passed. It's like trying to reach out to someone. I'm going to reach out to them tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes and you don't reach out. And before you know it, it's a week. Okay, for sure, this week I'm going to do it. And then before you know it, it's a year later and you go, oh, I can't reach it now. Too much time has passed.
Yeah.
Too much has happened. They're going to be angry at me.
It's
And
the
then one day you
story.
just have the courage to say, damn the torpedoes. And you pick up the phone or you text them and they're happier, the most happiest to hear from you.
Yeah.
And then in your mind, you sit there and go, that was not hard. So the hard comes from the mental side of things, not the physical. Not to say that there isn't physical work.
Yeah.
But a lot of the hardness of why we avoid things is the mental. We convince ourselves it's going to be difficult, it's going to be hard, that I somehow don't have the skills, or I'll put it off till tomorrow. There's times there's a value to putting things off tomorrow, but more times than not, if you can do it today, then you probably should do it today.
Well, I'd say like that mentality is on the right track, and part of that is like, take one step towards it today. You
Yeah.
don't have to get it all done, but what would happen if you just did one little piece of it? What's
Just
the
one little,
littlest piece that you could do just to say, hey, I've made progress towards this? Because in that in itself is like the antidote to that chorus of going, there's too much time, you're wasting time, you haven't done this, why haven't you done this, you know why you haven't done this, blah blah blah. And it's just, but you go, I did a piece to it, and it's like, we knew you could.
and I know why I didn't do it. Here's the other side of it. There's a joy to it when you actually do it. Like I said, making these promo things that I've been doing, and the videos and the logos, because I have not just my coaching. I have on the poetry side, I have my inspired poetry corner recital, which is definitely gaining popularity. I have the Where's the Balance podcast I do with our friend Randall.
Yeah.
And I find that now that I'm putting the effort into really building and branding those things, there's a joy that comes from it. Yeah. Right. And I don't necessarily think I was not doing and putting off. I just trust this is the right time. And a lot of that was driven from our last session, right? When you said you didn't do it, I didn't sit there and beat you up. I want to understand from your perspective, why do you think you were avoiding? What was it about you that was avoiding? Why do you feel, and I don't even think I used the word worthy. It's like, you tell me. Because there's a value to the experience that if you learn from it and not make you feel bad for it and beat you up for it, there's a value to that experience that you'll go, oh, I don't need to do that. So this is why I reissued it the way I did, because it's a good lesson. I learned from myself. I'm going to learn. See, now I don't need to avoid. I can learn from Gene's experience. Why? We're connected.
Yeah.
I've done what he's done for whatever reasons they are. The question is, are you prepared to learn from it? So to me, that was us both stepping into your shadows to understand, why is Gene avoiding the things that he says he wants to do?
And that again shares that value where we talked earlier in the top of this episode of like, what we go through, it can be somebody else's like survival guide, or like guide to their own version of success. Take what you can from it. From my own avoidance of, I'm not good enough, who am I to stand on this stage and do the things that I want to do when my life's not tens all the way around my wheel of life? And the reality is, no one's is.
No one's is. No.
And that's part of the beauty of what going through it all is, and taking that step from, again, I'm going to reference Trevor Turnbull. I was on his show, on his episode 66, and he asked this really brave question, that I guess he'd wanted to ask in the past, and he's just like, goes, Gene, where are you misaligned in what you say and what you do?
Mm.
It was just like, and we had a wonderful conversation from that. But that really speaks to, I think, a lot of that avoidance as well. Is like,
Yeah.
there's like, uh, the
You,
equation isn't balanced on like, oh, who you think you are versus what you're trying to do. And when you're out there talking and maybe coming across as like preaching on a soapbox, and you're not drinking your own Kool-Aid, be like, that's a pretty big misalignment. And having that question sit there and almost fester in a way, but it calls to action, going almost every day now. I relook at it going, where am I misaligned with what
yeah.
I'm saying?
Because
And this,
misaligned, avoidance, apprehension, procrastination, to me is just an invitation to go, oh, okay, I'm out of balance here.
yeah.
I'm out of balance. You can't just talk it. I mean, you can, but then very quickly you lose credibility, even with yourself.
Oh,
And a lot of times, the
yeah,
first credibility is with ourselves. Well, I said this, but I'm not following through. And that's
yeah.
the key, is to follow through. So, to me, when these things happen, it's saying you're not in balance with what you say you value and you
Mm.
believe. And if you're just going to talk it, then you're really going to be just out of balance. So,
It comes right back down to that four agreements. That first one, be impeccable with your
in
word,
fact,
right? And an idea popped to my head yesterday as I was driving home, watching a beautiful sunset here in Kelowna. It's just like, words are just a container for meaning.
mhm,
It's just like, oh, well, there's a place to noodle on. Be like, here's a word. Whatever words are spitting out right now, it's my choice to put meaning into that by showing up to them, by living them, to giving them life. Or I could just drop an empty container there
yeah.
and go, whew, I hope someone else does something with it.
And
What
I
if,
invite people to really read that book, The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. The Four Agreements of being impeccable with your word. Don't take things personally. Always have the courage to ask the question. And the last one is to do your best.
yeah,
But the first one of being impeccable with your word, saying what you mean and meaning what you say, that's one part of it. The other part, shouldn't say the bigger part, they're all big, of that first agreement, is you should never use the word against yourself.
yeah,
So that means if you speak it, then honor it. Because you have to lead by example. People will treat you based on how you teach them to treat you. And if you are not going to honor your own word, why should they honor yours?
yes,
So you should never use the word against yourself. So when I speak, I look and go, am I practicing what I just said? When I'm coaching, am I just saying things to you guys to sound good and sound like I know it all? Or do I truly believe it? And more importantly, am I walking it?
right,
And I think when we talk about transparency and accountability, this is why the world feels the way it is. We hear people saying it, but we're not also seeing them walking it consistently.
yeah,
No one does it all the time, but consistently.
more
And that's
often
what
than
I
not, yeah,
strive for. I strive for to consistently. If I tell you the sky is falling, you don't have to look up, right? You don't have to look up. But people that tell you the sky's falling, you're going to look up, because why? They don't practice what they preach.
no,
And this is what we're seeing with our politicians and certain business leaders. But having said that, I also see a lot of people, business leaders in tow, that are practicing what they preach.
yeah,
So, that's why to me is key. This is why I think we need to look at how we use words like shadows and procrastination and apprehension, and it's not negative or positive. It's just another experience that you have the opportunity, like I said, crisis and opportunity to learn from.
Well, and I think as well, like, there's the other part that comes up through this conversation for me is like, when do those things show up most? When there's a lack of clarity around where you're walking to as
Hey,
well, right? Like that destination. Now, it's not all about the destination, I believe. It's about the journey of who you become on the road to that destination. But without that destination, I'm starting to wonder, even in this own conversation, if those things that show up, the avoidance and stuff, is just going, dude, you're a fucking workhorse. When you're not pointed in the right way, you're doing yourself a disservice. Like, what if that is the message that is underneath all the "you're not worthy" words? It's just like, we know you are because we're all within you,
Mhm.
and when you know where to go, look out.
I find I find those voices tend to really crop up when money's involved.
Mm,
When you have to go out and ask people for money. And to me, it's not the money. Is
yeah,
what's your apprehension around money? I'll use myself for an example. You know, I don't do things for money, solely for money. Shouldn't say it's not that I don't value money. And when I look, when I like, this new venture right now that I'm in branding and websites and all this stuff. When I took money off the table in the sense of, it's not that I don't want money, it's not that I'm not worthy of it. To me, that's like breathing air, because if I am going to create value from myself and putting value out, people will then show up and the monies will show up.
yeah,
People will not take monies out of their pocket if you're not providing value.
yeah.
Basic economics 101. So to me is, if what you're saying is what you really want to do, ask yourself, is it providing a value? Not just for me, because I always invite people to use, going back to the body, the human
Yeah.
heart. When it's pumping fresh blood, it feeds itself first, and then it distributes everything else out. So everything that I do for me first. So what's the value for me? And then what's the value I want to put out? And that's one of the reasons today I went to back. I go, I got all kinds of things around me. I got great testimonials from you and other people that I've worked with over the years. I'm going to use that. Why? I'm worthy of that. I've
100%.
earned those testimonials. And if somebody else can benefit from it, and it will provide the monies that I need to live, okay.
Great. That's a beautiful thing, right? And I think this also like pulls back to like Bob Berg's set of books. Basically, oh my lord, I'm sorry, Bob, I forgot the title of it. Anyways, he's got kind of like 5 rules, and part of that is seeing the value within yourself. By step 3 is all about deploying that to as many people as possible, right? Stepping beyond that, going, you have to see you got to talk your value, be of value, like give more value than you're charging, and then deploy that to as many people as possible. So like there's all those first 3 steps are a lot of accepting that you do bring value, that you have an expertise in some shape or form, and how do you deploy that, be it as an employee, be it as an entrepreneur, be it however you choose to show up, is like have that value that is so immense that there's no what's the word here, there's no doubt about what the financial investment is going to be with that, right? And then being able to be brave enough to reach out to more people and expand that base. And the last part of that circle as well is being open to receiving it all. I think that can be a real big point that can stop a lot of people. Is like when that receiving piece comes in, it's just like, nope, deflect. Well, I was notorious for deflecting.
Well,
Our
so
friend,
I still can be at times,
oh,
especially when
like,
people praise me.
yeah, well, and because it drops in this place that probably needs the most amount of love for it to be dropped in, to be able just to accept a compliment without deflecting it away and turning it back on them. Not in a bad way, but going, no, you're the greatness here, not me. There's an ability to accept that, and I view it more as a gift now. And would I want to slap that gift out of somebody's hand? Somebody chose to go out of their way to give that gift, and what an opportunity to see it.
You're stealing words out of my mouth.
We spend too much time together.
It's beautiful because it's true. Like I said, I struggle with praise. I mean, and for the longest time, I accepted some of it, because when I almost convinced myself, well, I'm just trying to keep my ego in check because I hear it all the time. Okay, that's true. because of, the stuff I did in Cologne and blah, blah, blah. But also, I do believe in the spirit of Ubuntu. I am because you are.
Mm.
And if someone wants to praise me, and it's genuine praise, and I don't accept it, I'm basically tarnishing their gift,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I'm saying to them, to some degree, you're not worthy to share your gift of appreciation with me. So it goes both ways. There's obviously some worthiness issues, and I always tell even my clients, I still accept I have my worthiness issues. I just don't let them get in my way.
Yeah.
So I've learned to accept that gift, because I am because you are. And it can't just be, oh, I can help you and fix you and all this stuff. If people fully believe they've benefited from the value that you've presented to them, and they want to express their appreciation, let them.
Yeah.
And it's not just monetarily. Sometimes it's with a hug, it's with a handshake, it's with a smile, it's with a kind text, it's with a testimonial. But whatever it is, it's an acceptance. And to me, it all ties into like I said, when we're talking about avoidance or apprehension or whatever titles we're using today, it's all the same thing. Yeah. I'm going to get out of my way. I'm not going to let those things, they show up, those crises show up with the opportunity. The opportunity is, I can continue to really step within my abyss and to learn more about me and go, okay, why in this moment are you feeling apprehension around accepting this gift?
Where are you feeling that? I think that's that other part too, is like, let's start with we're going all over the map today, but like, let's start with the body. Is like, the body is going to lead that way first. Where's that tension? What is it? A tension? Is it pain? Like, what's happening within it? So you can start to be like, oh, what is that? Instead of like putting the words to it, it's like, put the feelings to it. Go, oh, that lands in a weird spot. I feel that in my chest.
Used to land in my stomach because, as a kid, I used to hear from my father, it's like, I put all this work into studying and all this stuff. I can come home, with four A's and 2 B's, and he'll go, well, how come what happened to, why'd you only get 2 B's?
Yeah.
But I got 4 A's, right? So, you can usually trace back where those feelings come from. And then when it happens in an adult, I go, thanks for that reminder, but I'm not a 12-year-old kid anymore.
Yeah.
And that happened then. It's a reminder of going, do you appreciate your effort and what you've put in? And it's not so much, I didn't do my best. If you could have put more in, it's not to beat yourself up now, it's to go, okay, next opportunity, I know I have more to give.
Yeah.
It's like when I was coaching my boys in football. The invitation was to never leave the field knowing that you didn't give everything you have. Doesn't matter what the scoreboard says. But if you walk off the field knowing I gave it all that I had, gave every ounce of energy that I had for these 2-3 hours, whatever the scoreboard is, also the scoreboard says, you're good.
Yeah.
You weren't apprehensive. You weren't hesitant. You gave it. And even if you were, you found ways through it.
Yeah.
And that's the key. So
it removes removes that doubt from it, right? Because I think even Matthew McConaughey has a speech, maybe in a TED Talk or something, about like putting it all out there on the field, knowing that you've deployed everything, then regardless of the outcome, there's no doubt that you could have done more. You can learn from it, you can grow from it, but you delivered the fullness of who you were in that moment to that moment. And that's a beautiful thing. And sometimes that doesn't mean the scoreboard is going to reflect the win.
No.
But the loss doesn't need to sting either. It's an opportunity to learn, to go like, wow, or we went up against a worthy competitor or component. Like Simon Sinek talks about that as well. Like, there's a beauty in a worthy competitor, and like viewing them as like a great friend and somebody who's going to hold you, like gives you that bar to be like, go to, be like, oh, you bugger. Okay, here we go again. Here we go again. Here we go again. Because they pull the best out of you.
You listen to top athletes and top performers. They say the same thing. Their greatest adversaries are the ones that they have the opportunity to learn and grow from, because they bring out the best. They challenge them to be their best because they know they're going to bring their best.
Yeah.
One of the reasons, I like Tom Brady is because he's been consistently great for a number of years.
Yeah.
And when you listen to other athletes talk about him, they will always tell you, I look forward to playing him because he brings out the best in me.
Yeah.
So that means that week I have to really pour myself into practice. So what they're really saying is, are you fully present in the moment?
Mm-hmm.
These top athletes, they have an ability to be in the moment, and when something has happened, they quickly learn from it and they let it go.
Yeah.
One of the reasons people are apprehensive and avoid things is because a lot of times they're stuck in a path, they're stuck in an experience. Well, I've done this before, and that was before. The lesson is, I don't have to do that. I can walk through this. If I get up this morning and I know from last night, I had a really good day, but I still left some things on the field. Well, I'm not going to do that today. So what do I need to do today to not leave it on the field, as opposed to beating yourself up? Because why? Every day you have the opportunity to give your best.
Yeah.
Every day. And sometimes your best means I didn't give my best.
Well, I think
best is to learn from it.
Float best back to Don Miguel's four agreements is the best is flexible and is fluid. Some days your best is going to be like this, and some days your capacity for best is this. Can you live up to where your capacity is within those days and within those moments? And stop flogging yourself because remember yesterday the capacity was here. Well, maybe you're tired. Maybe there's other circumstances. Now your capacity is for best is the line's moved. Still hit it.
I don't flog myself. I don't beat myself up, but I'll challenge myself. I'm going to challenge myself. How can I, every day now for the past week, I've been having really good days, good weeks. And it's like, okay, what can I do better today? Not that yesterday was bad. Yesterday was a good day, but what can I do different today? How can I challenge myself? Because to me, when you beat yourself up is what keeps you stuck in those things.
That's where we play small, and I'm going to be honest. I still flog myself. I'm learning to not do that, and that came from a place of there used to be a power in it, a motivation in it, and now I'm just not that man anymore, and be able to celebrate those times. And I think as well, like a little bit of that avoidance or procrastination. Like we talked, today's thing was all about the kernel of this was avoidance. Is like, I think there's a component of that flogging that just goes, dude, you left so much on the field. You didn't bring it all out. Why? No one's going to, you're not going to be better by playing small. And the world around you that you serve, your family, your loved ones, and your clients, and wherever else you may go, will not be served by you playing small. Take that, untie those hands from behind your back, and be out there and be ready to go. Let's bring a whole bunch of people through the fog. Let's realize the fog is that training ground, and it might be scary, and it's where those voices have no corporeal feeling to it. But on the other side, you bring them to that your inner board table, and you're like, we're doing some stuff. We hear you. You're doing a great job. Saboteurs, avoidance, procrastination, all the other one side. They do their job. I wish I did my job as well as they did, right? They're incredible at it. And what a role, and if I look at it from that perspective, what a role model. Be like, they're consistent. They're always there. Be like,
there's another word I want you to incorporate. Well, I invite you to incorporate.
All right.
Patience.
Patience, yes.
Self-mastery, self-love is also about patience. It takes time to learn. It doesn't always happen overnight.
No.
And part of being patient is learning not to beat yourself up and to be in the moment of the crisis so you can see the opportunity. So that's a word that we're not always wanting to incorporate into our work. Patience is a very important one as well. Patience.
So with impatience, I bring forward, there's a sense of slowing it down though too. You know me. I was like running at warp 10 all the time, just kind of skipping over everything, thinking this was the way to go. And as I've slowed down in my thinking and my approach and even the way that I speak, and I can hear myself slowing down right now, is like you get to a different perspective of actually what your geography in your life is really like. It's no longer this blur. Are you willing to slow down within that patience to go, oh, I haven't really been taking care of my own inner yard? Be like, it's time to do that. And that takes time.
It's
And
time.
it takes care, and it takes practice, and it takes learning. And sometimes sitting in that slowness can be really, really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And it is the exact place that you are going to, I think, well, at least I've gotten the most value out of. And by being able to slow that down and start to find these other perspectives and these new relationships with saboteurs and my allies and everything else, it's just like, oh, the conversation is so different here in patience.
Yeah. Well, like I say patience, and then I'll add the word manage patience. It's all about managing yourself. And the biggest thing is staying present. If you can stay present in the moment, it's the only time you have full access to all your skills, tools, and abilities.
Yeah.
And even when you step into the past or the future, which are the two playgrounds of fear, you're still doing it in the moment, right? So it's really up to you in regards to whether you want to focus yourself in. I find the older I get, the more rotations around the sun, the more patient I've become with myself. And I also do a pretty good job of staying present, staying in the moment. And man, there's a joy to that. There's a value. But that took time. It didn't happen overnight. And there's no time frame. That's the other thing. We like to compare ourselves. And well, you get it when you get it. Right. And
I'll add to that. You get it when you get it if you put the reps in. If you
if you put
start
the
with
reps,
one.
yeah. And I put the reps in, I continue to put the reps in. It's like I said, every day I fall more in love with myself.
Yeah.
Every day.
It's like
People don't like hearing that. Some people think it's egotistical. You can think what you want.
Yeah.
I know for me, loving me, like I said, I follow the example of the human heart. The human heart feeds itself first, but it doesn't hold on to it all. It only takes what it needs and it distributes the rest. And I follow that example. Everything I do for me first. Right? But I do believe in the spirit of Ubuntu. I am because you are. But the first part is I am, and that I am has to be strong if you're going to be good for other people. So it's a balance. It's a partnership. This is why, I know we're going to wrap this up. So, when you think of these words like apprehension and hesitation and procrastination, once again, look at them as crisis. And crisis is always accompanied by opportunity, and the opportunity is for you to learn. What am I avoiding? Why am I avoiding? What actions am I not taking? Am I truly out of balance with my wording? Because, like the first agreement, be impeccable with your word, but never use your own words against yourself or anyone else. So it's an opportunity for you to really do some quick snapshot analysis and go, okay, all right, I got this fear, I got this apprehension, but I'm not going to let it stop. I'm going to walk through it.
Yeah.
And then just put one foot in front of the other. Or do like Dory and just keep swimming. Every chance I get to mention Dory, I'll do it because I just love
keep swimming.
Just keep swimming.
It's like the little engine that could. I think I can. I think I can.
Yeah.
I think I can. Right? What you think you can. And bringing that forward, that inner and that. Yeah, I like that idea of like that love for yourself and like the metaphor of the heart and how it feeds itself to then feed the rest of us. I talk a lot about with my clients as well. It's like serving from your saucer. Is cup and saucer. Your cup, you've got to figure out how to fill that, and then you get to everything spills off your saucer from that. So if you can overflow your cup, and then the rest of that can spill out everywhere else. That's that power. It's like the heart of it. You can be the heart of within yourself, the heart within your family, the heart within your community, the heart within your business, within your company, within your relations. How do you want that heart to be within all of that? Are you practicing good heart health within all the context of all those relationships?
And that's a good message, not just for the individual, for businesses as well. In these hard, challenging economic times, this is when we tend to want to cut back on human capital and the development of people. The professional development. And even back in my corporate days, I used to always try to encourage my managers. This is actually not the time to cut back. This is the time to actually develop your people. So for whoever is listening,
to sharpen.
Yeah, sharpen your saw. Like I'm a 7 Habits guy, and sharpening your saw. How are you encouraging your people to be the best that they know how from within, from the inside out? Yeah, remember our perspective is from the inside out. So I live from the inside out, and the only way I can understand to widen my perspective is, can I step out of my feelings, my emotions, and be willing to embrace change and the opportunities that come with change.
Yeah.
And that means I have to get to a place where I'm really good with me. So I encourage people to really look at Gene, someone like myself as a coach. And for businesses, the same thing in developing people, because, we're in an age of transformation. I really don't believe we're blowing up the world and we're going to hell in a handbasket, but we're definitely in an age of transformation. And the better you can embrace that and embrace the change and the possibilities that come from that change, life will not say get back to normal. We'll get to the next evolution.
I agree. It's evolving to something.
It is.
And that's life, period. It's a constant evolution.
Yeah, and it's going to get messy, and before, things tend to always get worse before they get better, because how are you going to appreciate better if you don't come from the so-called bad places? It's like, that's why I embrace it all. Now, doesn't mean I like it all, but I embrace it, because I know the alternative. If you don't, it just causes me more problems, and I don't want that. I got enough gray hairs. I like my gray hairs. Anyway, brother.
All right. Well, on that, I think we're kind of well past that, where I usually go, hey, we're at about 45 minutes. We've totally lost track of time. And as I expect always with our conversations, to blow past that time. And I really appreciate, Rawle, that you stepped into this today to discuss avoidance and see where this topic took us. And this conversation was very rich. And I just want to honor you for your time that you took away on your long weekend here with me today on episode 101.
Well, I thank you for number one, always asking me to come back and valuing what I have to say. And, I enjoy our conversations, whether it's when we're doing one-on-one or when we do it in this setting. And, I always feel honored every time you ask me. The last 2 years you've asked me to end the year with you. So I don't take these things lightly, and I'm grateful.
Yeah.
I'm grateful that, the value that I've put out to you, you appreciate, and you want to reciprocate. So I'm grateful, and I'm thankful for you as well. So I enjoy this. Thank you.
Likewise, and we'll definitely end the year again on a wonderful conversation.
Definitely.
We'll pin that one right now. We will make sure
we're
back off hiatus by then.
It's already in my calendar. And if you didn't ask, I'll delete it and cry. It's like, you didn't ask me this. I love you, brother. You know I do.
Likewise. What is one question you want to leave with people to have an inquiry on today?
One question. Can you benefit from having someone work with you? And if so, what? And most people will say yes. And what's stopping you? What's stopping you? I kind of take a page from my corporate days, and I call on clients and I'll ask them what their pains are, and then I'll even go deeper. And then we check all these boxes off, and then they're still saying, "Well, what's the apprehension?" We've checked all these boxes. What's the apprehension? Because I look at it this way, we've come through a very traumatic period over the last 3-4 years, and probably even going back to 2007, 2008 when financial world has blown up. So we've been in a bit of a stressor for a good 10 years or so. And it's just been highlighted with what we've experienced over the last couple of years. And I think it's an opportunity for people to kind of step back and to breathe, but to go inside and to look inside. And I think sometimes, it's beneficial to have someone. So, what's stopping you from inviting someone to help you in doing your internal work?
Like that. All right, and then the last question. Mm-hmm. We're going to jump in my time machine. We're going to go into the future by 10 years. When we open that door, what's that Rawle going to say thank you to you for?
Thank you for letting me figure it out and just being there when I needed your voice.
That's a great answer. Powerful.
Yeah. Like a Christmas present, you just unwrap it. It's like, yay. Every day is a gift, man. It's not even every day. Every moment is a gift. So it's
That's why they call it the present.
Yes. But you unwrap it and it's like, wow. I mean, you know what I went through this year, and I still see it as a gift. Man. So yeah, thank you for allowing me to unwrap each moment and just being there if I need it.
No, that's always a thing. We have to have that community and that support around us. Well, Rawle, on that, I just want to thank you again for being on episode 101. Thank you for the challenge in our coaching practice together, and I guess thank you to Past Me for avoiding this so we could have a beautiful conversation. See, wonderful things.
Opportunity. Many opportunity. If that didn't happen, we wouldn't be doing this.
Exactly.
If that didn't happen, I wouldn't have accepted the challenge with you.
Mm-hmm. See, pathways. So we can look back on that and go, you know what? Good has come from it. Lessons have learned from it.
Yes.
And now hopefully we get to share some of those with others.
Definitely.
By being out here.
Maybe you'll want to do a follow-up. I don't know. I'll leave that up to you. But all I know is, since I accepted, I reissued the challenge to you, and I took it on myself. I've been having fun with this.
Good.
I've been having fun building and learning, and so that's why I said, man, if you had chose not to avoid, this wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
It may have happened. I don't know, but more than likely, it may not, because
we wouldn't be.
That's why. This is why I only focus on. I don't focus on what I wanted it to be or what I hoped it to be.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I focus on what happened.
Yeah.
You chose not to do the assignment. Okay. This was supposedly the accountability of me doing this cast with you today. And now look, if I'm going to give that to you again, I'm going to do it. And man, I'm having fun with this.
Good.
So yeah, it was a blessing.
I likewise, brother. All right, and to everybody else, thank you for watching episode 101 of the LiveCast Conversations with. I'm your host, Gene Bernier, and we will see you later.